In a desert town where the sun painted the sands in hues of gold and amber, lived a merchant named Rafi. He was a man of diligence, his days spent amidst fragrant spices, vibrant silks, and handcrafted pottery. Yet, despite the bustling market and the hum of life around him, a shadow lingered over his spirit. Rafi was perpetually unhappy. Every morning as the sun began its ascent, Rafi's complaints would begin. He'd grumble about the relentless heat that shimmered above the dunes, the slow, deliberate pace of his loyal camel, and the modest sales he made at his stall. "Is this all there is?" He'd often mutter to the wind, his shoulders slumped under the weight of his own dissatisfaction. His gaze was always fixed on what was missing on the fuller stores of other merchants, on the caravans that seemed to carry more exotic goods than his own. The joy of his trade was lost in a constant cycle of comparison and complaint. His face, etched with lines of worry, rarely broke into a smile. Customers felt his discontent, and though his goods were of fine quality, the atmosphere in his corner of the market was heavy and joyless. One particularly sweltering evening, after a day of disappointing sales, Rafi led his camel to a communal well on the outskirts of the town. He slumped onto the cool stone ledge, sighing heavily. The stars were beginning to pepper the deep indigo sky, but Rafi saw no beauty in them. Just as he was about to lose himself in another round of self-pity, an old traveler with kind eyes and a flowing white beard sat down beside him. The traveler, noticing Rafi's despondent air, wordlessly broke his flatbread in two and offered a piece to him. Rafi, surprised by the gesture, accepted it with a mumbled thanks. As they ate in silence, the traveler spoke, his voice as gentle as a desert breeze. "You have a good heart, merchant, but it is heavy," Rafi scoffed. "What is there to be light-hearted about? The sun scorches, my camel is lazy, and my purse is nearly empty." The traveler simply smiled, a serene and knowing expression on his face. He looked up at the vast star-filled sky and then back at Rafi. "Gratitude," he said softly, "is the key to riches that never fade." Rafi looked at the old man, confused. "Gratitude? How can I be grateful for so little?" The traveler's smile widened. He pointed to Rafi's camel, which was drinking deeply from the well. "You have a loyal companion for your journeys." He gestured toward the town. "You have a place in a community and a trade to sustain you." Finally, he held up his piece of bread. "And tonight, you have food to eat." He paused, letting his words settle. "Count what you have, not what you lack. True wealth is not found in a heavy purse, but in a thankful heart." The traveler's words hung in the air, simple yet profound. He finished his bread, wished Rafi a peaceful night, and continued on his journey, disappearing into the twilight. Rafi remained by the well long after the traveler had gone, the old man's words echoing in his mind. "Count what you have, not what you lack." For the first time, he didn't dismiss the thought. He looked at his camel, his tired but steadfast companion. He thought of the few customers who had visited his stall that day, their brief interactions, the coins they had exchanged for his wares. He even felt a strange sense of appreciation for the well itself, providing cool, life-giving water in the vast emptiness of the desert. It was a small shift, a tiny crack in the wall of his chronic discontent, but it was a beginning. The next morning, something inside Rafi had changed. As he loaded his goods onto his camel, instead of grumbling, he patted its neck and whispered, "Thank you for your strength, old friend." As he walked to the market, he felt the warmth of the sun not as a burden, but as the lifeblood of the desert. He thanked it for the new day. A family stopped by his stall, buying only a small bag of dates. In the past, he would have been disappointed. Today, he smiled genuinely and said, "Thank you for your business. May your day be sweet." The family, taken aback by his warmth, smiled back. This became his new practice. He started his days by acknowledging the simple gifts around him: the shelter of his tent, the taste of his morning tea, the shade of a nearby palm tree that offered respite from the afternoon sun. He found gratitude for the weaver who supplied his beautiful rugs, for the potter whose hands shaped his clay jars, and even for the challenging customers who taught him patience. He began to see his life not as a series of problems, but as a tapestry woven with countless small blessings. The change in Rafi was palpable. His constant scowl was replaced by a ready smile. His shoulders, once slumped, were now straight. Laughter came more easily to him, and he began to share stories with his customers, asking about their families and their travels. The heavy, joyless atmosphere that once surrounded his stall dissipated, replaced by a welcoming and cheerful energy. People were drawn to it. They found that buying from Rafi was no longer just a transaction, it was a pleasant experience. His kindness became the talk of the marketplace. His business began to flourish in ways he had never imagined. Customers who once passed him by now sought him out. Fellow merchants, who had previously kept their distance, now engaged him in friendly conversation, seeking his advice. His stall became a hub of positivity and connection. People didn't just come for his spices and silks, they came for the warmth and genuine appreciation he showed to everyone. His sales grew and his purse became heavier, but Rafi barely noticed it. His focus had shifted entirely. The external success was merely a byproduct of his internal transformation. Years passed, and Rafi became the most respected and beloved merchant in the entire town. His wealth had indeed grown, but that was not the source of his esteem. People looked up to him not for the gold he had accumulated, but for the richness of his spirit. He was known as Rafi the Thankful, a man whose presence was a reminder of the simple, profound power of gratitude. He never saw the old traveler again, but he carried his lesson with him every single day. He had learned that the old man was right. The greatest riches are the ones that never fade. The story of Rafi teaches us a timeless lesson. Gratitude is a magical lens. It doesn't change the world around us, but it changes how we see it. It transforms ordinary days into blessings and turns the small, everyday things we often overlook into priceless treasures. Like Rafi, when we choose to count what we have instead of what we lack, we unlock a deep and abiding joy that no amount of material wealth can ever buy. We discover that a thankful heart is the truest source of abundance. Thank you so much for joining me for this story. If it resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more tales that warm the heart and nourish the soul. Until next time, may you find treasures in the small things.